What's up, fellow classers? It's Apollyon here, and I'm going to show you the most powerful attack at 11v11. There's still some really good ones and strong ones like the Mass Miner, Drag Bat, La Lune. They're all still really powerful, but this particular one you can use against almost any type of style of base design. Doesn't really matter. And we're going to show you a bunch of them. Everything that you wanted to know but were afraid to ask about the PeBo or the Pekka bowler with and without the bats on the back end. So let's go ahead and look at the first one, and look at that. It just happens to be me. Wow, amazing. So let's just talk a little bit about the strategy before we actually go ahead and show the replays. You're going to be able to mix and match different types of compositions depending on how much value you're going to get for your funneling and how much you need to push through the base. And what I mean by that is, are you going to bring one jump spell? Are you going to bring two jump spells? Are you going to bring bats for the back end? Are you just going to bring multiple rages, like 3 or 4 rages? And it all depends on the base design. But the bottom line is you want to get your troops funneled in at one particular side. And usually you use your queen to funnel from one side to the middle, and then either a Pekka or your a barbarian king or an e-dragon / regular dragon / baby dragon for the other side to push everything into the middle, get through the core, and then use your jumps, rages, and then your bats in the back end if that's what you choose to. So some of the things that you want to look out for as far as if you're using the bats is the splash damage. And splash damage meaning all these little wizard towers here and here, and the Inferno towers. Almost everything now at Town Hall 10, 11, and 12 is set up to multi. This strategy could still work if you have single Inferno towers. You're just going to have to freeze them just like you would with the multi, but you're going to use them more on the single until you can push through, and then bats on the back end will be simple at that point. So let's go ahead and look at a couple different variations. This one, it's going to be just a simple 3 Pekka, and I'm using the E-Drag up at 9 o'clock, and I'm going to use the Queen to funnel from 9 o'clock with a baby dragon at around 8. So I'm going to start by dropping the Queen at 9 o'clock or 9:30, and I don't need to drop the healers. I'll drop the E-Dragon to funnel. Unfortunately, my E-Dragon, I wanted to get the Inferno Tower, but the King is going to distract it. The enemy King is going to distract it, and it's not going to get everything I wanted, but it still gets the funneling that I'm interested in. I'm using the Ice Golem to make sure that I can go ahead and tank for that Queen before I drop the healers down, and can get that wall wrecker as well. Everything is going very well. Baby Dragon's not cooperating the way I wanted it to, but that's okay. The Queen will do a U-turn and come back and visit with the Pekka, the bowlers, and the King. Pekka bowlers, I bring anywhere from 7 to 9 bowlers, and then the Queen will come and redirect. Now you're going to want to rage through the core. I'm going to jump as well, and you're going to save your 2 rages to push through the Pekkas and the bowlers. These multi-infernos do absolutely nothing to Pekkas whatsoever, especially with raged healers on top of them. And we're using the jump there to push through the base, and just going to use the second rage down here at around 6 o'clock. At this point, I still have 2 Inferno towers up. There's a Tesla farm at 3 that hasn't popped yet. But one of the things I learned to be very successful with this, especially if you have multiple splash buildings, i.e. Inferno towers, Wiz towers, whatever can do splash damage to those bats, be patient. Let your bowlers, let your Pekka, let all those kill squad tank for those type of defenses, and then drop your bats with the freezes. Now, I like to bring more freezes and on the conservative side instead of bringing more and more bats. Some people like to bring like 5 or 6 bats with 1 freeze. If you're going against single Infernos or only 1 or 2 Wiz towers that are in tank, that's fine. But if you're going against multi-Infernos, Wizard towers, anything like that, it's just not a good idea. So you want to bring more freezes to make sure that you can get them, because 1 wizard tower will take out your entire bat group army and kill your attack at that point. So I'm being very patient. I'm holding on to my bats. I'm going to wait till they get down almost into the Eagle Artillery. And once they get there, then I can drop my freeze on the Inferno tower at noon and push the bats from noon all the way down to 3 o'clock. Now that everything is tanking, the multis, the wizard tower. So there we go with the bats. Don't need to rage at this point for those bats. There's nothing to save. But I'm going to let those bats come down. I'm looking at the wizard tower right there, freezing it to make sure that they don't take out that group of bats. They'll come in and take out the wizard tower. And now it's lights out. There's absolutely no splash damage. And bats, if you didn't know, don't trigger air bombs unless there's a balloon right next to them or something. They don't have to worry about that. So they'll just take out all these individual defenses, just completely crushing the base. We do have a Troll Tesla at 9 o'clock, but those bats will take that out without any kind of problem. Now, another variation of this, which I will show in later, is using that ice golem to tank any external or wizard towers, or not inferno towers, but wizard towers, that instead of having to freeze them. And we'll show that in just a little bit. So we'll go down to another one at number 17. And we'll look at the attack here. We have 4 pekkas. So instead of bringing the E-Drag to funnel, if you've got these air defenses that are all on the outside that would snipe the E-Dragon very quickly, it just makes sense to use a pekka instead. It's actually less troop space, and as long as they get that funneling done, that's the key to this. So I think the queen is going to be dropped at 6 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken, and I think that the BK is going to be dropped at 9 o'clock with a loon for a Troll Tesla, but we'll see. I get a lot of these mixed up, but there's the Pekka at 3 o'clock to start funneling down there and making sure that we're just taking out all those trash buildings so everything goes right into the core. And the queen is pretty much getting, the Pekka's tanking for the queen as well. Now we can drop those healers just to make sure they don't get sniped by the AD. Another point to these attacks: if the queen is under a lot of point defense attack, always use her ability. Don't rage her up. You want to save those rages for the core to push the Pekka and the bowlers and everything and the healers to get through the core. It's okay if the queen has to use her ability early, because the Pekkas, the wall wrecker, everything else should be tanking for her. We're going to pop that king ability, which is very important to make sure the bowlers, the Pekka, everything goes inside the core instead of walking on the outside. And there we got a La Loon in there. All we have to do is poison that loon. That's the only thing that's going to do any big damage to those kill squad. The Lava Hound's going to do absolutely nothing. We're using our Warden ability right there. Wall Wrecker is still pushing through tons of the base, so we can really be patient on that jump. We don't need to use it. The bowlers are coming through and just taking all those other defenses across the wall, and there we drop the jump to make sure that once those Pekkas burst through that one compartment, now the whole entire rest of the base is pretty much open. Look at those healers coming in with a rage. And then at this point, I'm going to stop it. We've used the freeze to take that wizard tower at 6 o'clock. But notice we've dropped the ice golem at 4 o'clock on that mortar, which is tanking that whiz tower. So we do not need to use a freeze on the whiz tower down there. And when the ice golem is dead, not only is it tanking the whiz tower now, but when it's dead, it will freeze all those defenses, and you won't have to use a freeze on that either. So that's another thing I like to do, just letting those bats push through. Expo is a little bit tough on bats. It does snipe them pretty quick, but there's just too many bats and too much overwhelmingness that's going to take the base. So again, that ice golem is tanking that wizard tower. There we go. Look at the Pekka, bowlers, everything else was tanking that inferno tower. So unfortunately, this is that one whiz tower gets unfrozen just in the nick of time for it to take out that bats. Otherwise, this base would be completely crushed. We would have about 10 to 15 bats plus that would be taking out the rest of these defenses, but otherwise we just got to let the rest of the kill squad do it. Pekkas under healers are so tanky. There's nothing that's going to take them out at all. The healers heal them too quickly, and the multi-inferno towers do absolutely nothing to them. So we'll speed it up, and we'll just let the rest of the space go as it is getting demolished. And we've got another 3-star. This is such a powerful attack, even for fresh hits. It really doesn't matter what's in the enemy's CC. I like to bring a poison. Some of my clanmates say they don't even bring poisons, but just in case it's multiple loons, 2 loons, or something like that, they really do hurt even Pekkas. So we'll go to number 13. And now 13 is going to be a variation of this where we don't use bats on the back end. And this is just, we're going to use two jumps. So we're going to bring an extra jump and an extra rage, we're in place of those bats and freezes, and we're going to use a heal as well. So that's to take place of the bats, and we're just able to identify this base when we do 2 jumps. Now we're using that ice golem again to tank for the queen, to make sure that she can get these buildings before we drop the healers on the queen, because that AD is so close. And if you look at another reason why we use the jumps on this one, all the ADs are in each of the corners, so we don't need to really worry about getting the healers getting sniped all the way until the end of it. So we can be a little bit more choosy and use jumps, and then we can hold the slammer, so we're not even using the wall wrecker in there, so we can come in any side of the base that we'd like to, although the wall wrecker would have been doing the exact same coming in that side, but that's fine. We're using 2 jumps, we're not using any bats, we're raging throughout the entire base, taking care of that baby dragon that is doing some damage to us, but we're pushing through the base. Now we're healing. I don't even know if that heal is really necessary. I think it's kind of a swag heal because we've got the healers on all of these bowlers and pekkas, so it really doesn't make too much difference. But look at there's a multi-inferno that's just getting completely shredded by these bowlers and pekkas, and we've got a slammer coming up at 6 o'clock that's almost going to be full health until the end of the battle. It's really going to take all of these defenses, and there's nothing. The queen snipes that last AD. That would be the only thing that would cause any threats to this slammer besides a Sam. But there's a bunch of point defenses that are going to do absolutely nothing to the slammer. It's just going to be able to tank them without any kind of problem. We pop the queen ability, and we still have 2 full pekkas, full health with bowlers behind it. And we'll just fast forward it to make a 2-speed so you could see. I don't even think we need to drop what's in the slammer. So we're basically swagging an entire CC, which is like 35 troop space. So again, how powerful this attack is. We have pekkas up, we have wizards, queen, and just completely annihilating this base. So there's another type of composition that you can try out right there. Very, very powerful on that. If you see so much splash damage, you don't feel comfortable about getting all that splash damage with your bats, then use that composition. We'll show one more, which is going to use the bats again, I believe. Yeah, there we go. With just 1 jump, 2 rages, 5 bats, and 2 freezes. So we're not using a poison spell on this one at all. And that's usually good for something like witches, like mass witches, 2 witches and a Valk or whatever. Can't do the math and see a bunch of archers, something like that, because those bowlers just come in and demolish all those skellies and all the ground troops completely. So it's not a big deal at all. Our healers are getting sniped a little bit. Fortunately, the queen is going to come back and loop around instead of walking the wrong way. There we go. Notice that he pops the queen ability here. Like I was saying, don't use your rage on the queen in the beginning. You make sure you pop her ability, get all those troops in. You're going to need those rages to push in through the core. Eagle artillery is going off, but it's fine. It's no big deal at all. And we're using no poison. We do have a baby dragon here, so it's very important that the one reason I like to bring the poison is because if the queen walks the wrong way, I still can poison the CC and kill any air troops. But in this one, the queen came in and everything's going fine. We still have I think it's a very full, well, it's a half full wall wrecker. So we're still getting pushed through that. The jump is not, it's going to push through the base, but we still have the wall wrecker doing its thing. And there we go. We've got the bats coming in at 6 o'clock. We've got 2 freezes with almost no splash. So these bats, look how much damage these bats get. Pekkas are going to take out that core Inferno Tower. Bats are still completely demolishing this base. We've got a Wizard Tower as the last splash damage, and we've got 2 freezes for that, which we don't even need to use because the Wizard Tower was being taken out by the Pekka. So we could have swagged 2 freezes, probably 10 to 15 bats on here. They saved the Pekka up at 10 o'clock, and they're just coming in and just getting rid of the base. So we don't even need any of those Pekkas. Our 3 Pekkas that are up full health, 4 Pekkas are up full health. Our Queen is full health. Our Warden is full health. We got 2 or 3 bowlers and a Wizard. We don't need any of those. Those bats would take out the rest of this entire base by themselves. So again, just see how powerful this strategy is. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. If you have any questions about it, please let me know. I would just try different compositions on different style of bases of what you feel most comfortable and what you're used to and what you get most value. If you are using the bats, again, I will caution you, make sure you bring at least 2 freezes unless you just know you can take out all or tank those splash damage. And also wait, be patient. Let those pekkas will be able to get through most of the base. It's not like they're so tanky and they have so many hit points and do so much damage that you don't have to worry about like a drag bat loon where you need to do it a lot earlier because those ADs take out dragons so quickly, or anything else. Pekkas can tank for days and days. So again, use the friendly challenges to get used to the different type of compositions, different spell compositions. If you're struggling on any particular part of this, just let me know and I can give you a comment on what I would suggest. But use those friendly challenges to your advantage. Get those 6-star clan wars and practice those 3-star attacks.